Meat City, baby.
Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video, and today we're covering the Grand Arena, specifically the 3v3 version. And before we get into the specifics, I want to take a minute to talk about Grand Arena and what the game mode is and how I feel about it, and invite some input from you guys as well. For me, Grand Arena, it's this really interesting mode because it is one-on-one, right? You don't have the support of your guild. It's just your lineup against somebody else's. And that's a cool concept, and how you set the defenses and make some strategy considerations. There's definitely more to it than there is in just your standard arena battle. So that's really, really interesting, and I get the concept. And what's even better is that this kind of event is really tailor-made for an account like mine, where I've done the research from the very start of my account. I've always kind of been plugged into Reddit, and I've had a really good guild, and I've checked videos, and kind of always had a team in mind to build, and haven't done a lot of frivolous build-up in my team. So my lineup is pretty trim and pretty tight, and it's got the powerful meta characters and not a whole lot of fat on it. So it's a really ideal team for the Grand Arena mode. The problem comes in for me is that it's also a super incentive as a pay-to-win game mode, and I really, really don't like that. I mean, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is a pay-to-win game, that's obvious, and I kind of grudgingly accept that fact, but we don't need to inflate it even more and push the advantage that you get for spending money even more. And that's really the case in Grand Arena. If you can spend money, especially at the lower levels. If you're a day one player, you've got every character, all your teams are powerful, yeah, then spending a little bit here or there is not going to matter. I'm talking about down in the younger teams and the people who have played for less time, where it's more important that they're engaged. If they're showing up in Grand Arena and they're lined up against teams that just have characters that blow theirs away, you're not helping anybody. Sure, you're inflating the ego of the top 1% of players, but you're kind of demoralizing the guys that are down in the dirt, that aren't really super into all the tiny intricacies of the game, and I don't know if that's healthy. So that's where I come down on it. I'm kind of a mixed bag. I haven't decided, do I really like it or not? It's a fun change of pace, but I certainly don't want it to happen more often than it's happening now, for each instance to get less rewards. And that kind of seemed to be the message that we were getting from the recent post, that they wanted Grand Arena to run more often and that they would adjust the rewards to compensate for that. That is not what I want, and I'd be pretty upset if that's the direction that we went. But anyway, that's my rant over. Let me know what you guys think about Grand Arena. Is it a mode that you like? Where do you rank it amongst the other modes? And where do you finish in Grand Arena? Are you taking 1 or 2 every time, or are you down at the bottom? And either way, that's fine, just so we have some context for where those opinions are coming from. So now we're going to get into the specifics of this Grand Arena match. It, again, is the 3v3 version. There's no ships involved, and this is the final battle. So this is the third matchup. I'm in the championship. It's number 1 versus number 2, and my opponent's lineup is very good. They do have a Revan meta squad. You can see they're in the top 50 of their arena. They do have, they've not neglected ships. They have the Millennium Falcon at 5 stars, just like me. Which again isn't relevant because there's no ships, but just to show this is a very well put together lineup, a competent player, but their lineup is a little bit weaker than mine. They don't have, I think Traya for one instance is a difference in our characters, and there are some others. My lineup should be favored to win, so I should win this match. So this is not a humble brag or a non so humble brag. This is just showing how I worked through the arena, what teams I used, what teams work and don't, and I can tell you right now, I don't make all the right decisions, so I definitely learned from this, and hopefully you guys will learn something too, as you see how some of these teams work, how some of these characters work, because one of the really cool things about Grand Arena is that you can see characters that you don't run into very often. When you're playing in Arena, you only run 5 characters in your squad. When you're running territory wars or territory battles, you're using your top meta teams. But here in Grand Arena, you got to dig a little deeper. So you do see characters and lineups that you don't see in other places. And that's kind of cool too. So what we're going to do here is go into these battles and work our way through. And as I approached each battle, I'll kind of give my strategy, my thoughts behind what approach I took, and then we'll see how it plays out, and then we'll put the lessons together for what we learned. So as you can see, my opponent who went first in this battle, he full cleared me, which was impressive because he did it without going full offense. The only team, and even more impressive, the only team he didn't one-shot was my Jedi Revan team. He took 3 battles to kill off my Jedi Knight Revan. Everything else he took out in a one-shot. So that was a little intimidating, certainly to see. And he's got a decent lineup left for defense. In his front top row, he's got a Bossk-led Bounty Hunter team. He's got a Rex-led Wampa, and an all-gold Year 12 Kru-led First Order. So a really good defensive lineup in that territory for him, and he was able to full clear my defense. And I kind of go for a balanced approach between offense and defense, so I don't make it a cakewalk for my opponents to get through. And then in his front bottom, obviously this is a little bit weaker. He does have a very competent Ewok squad led by Chief Chirpa, and he's got Gold Ewok Elder and Gold Wicket. And then 2 weaker squads, a Lando led to the veteran Smugglers, and then a Jin and Chaze combo that are gear, I think 8 there. So that is the weakness. And so what I tried to do then is put together my offensive teams. I've got kind of a standard set of 10 teams. I do 10 battles in my Galactic Power Bracket. So I've got 10 offensive teams that are ready to go, and I try to match them up against the 6 teams that I can see. And then what I want to do is keep as many of my 4 most powerful teams that I can in reserve for the back row, because we can't see what's back there. We don't know what we're going to go against in that back row, so I want to save as many of my top 4 teams if possible. And that's Commander Luke Skywalker, Han, and Chewie. That's a Night Sister team. That's Traya and the Triumvirate. So we want to try and save those teams as we can, because we don't know what's back there, right? For him to have cleared my squad, man, I really hope he had to use his Jedi Knight Revan on offense, but there's a chance he didn't. There's a chance they're back there on D, so we need our best offense. So that's the approach that we took, or that I took when putting together these matchups. We're looking for advantageous teams that maybe are a little bit weaker than the team that we're going to attack, but have some kind of synergy or some ability or some advantage over that team, so that we can constantly win with a little bit less and save our good stuff for the end. And hopefully what's back there is not too difficult, and then we just blast through it with our powerful teams, but that's the goal. So here we can see my 3v3 Grand Arena offense, and I don't always stick to this 100%. That's kind of just a template. We can swap characters in and out, but at the top we have the Commander Luke-led team, and then we've got Traya, Jedi Knight, a Jedi Training Rey, Imperial Troopers, Night Sisters, a Emperor Palpatine-led Empire squad that's got Grand Admiral Thrawn, Vader lead with Wampa and Shoretrooper, a Z-Fin Resistance team, which might have to get changed once his rework goes through. And then I've got a bit of a weaker team. This is kind of one of those dicey ones. It's a First Order Phasma lead. And then a little bit of a specialist squad. That's Darth Maul with his Zeta leadership, Darth Nihilus, and then a Enfys Nest that's part of that team. And finally, I've got Admiral Akbar leading Biggs and Wedge in a Rebel squad that can dish out, hopefully, a lot of damage. So those are the teams that I have available. And what I'm going to do now is work through the matches. And what I like to do is start with the weakest match and build up from there. Take the weakest opponent that I can see available and take the weakest team that I can use to defeat it, and like I said, work up, because the weak teams can be the most dangerous ones, because you can underestimate them, go in with something that's not quite enough, and then you end up having to two-shot the battle, and that can be the difference between winning or losing. So you have to think about it. These are kind of where the rubber meets the road, where these are really matches that you need to consider and come out ahead. And in order to do that, you have to think a little bit deeper about the characters that you're facing and their abilities and what they can do. So the first team that I'm going to go against is the Lando lead with the veteran Smugglers. And I'm going to choose to use Admiral Akbar, but I'm not going to go in with Wedge and Biggs. I feel like that's a little bit too much. That's overkill. So instead, I'm going to scale back to Chaze, to Chirrut and Baze, a little bit lower gear level, a little bit less damage output, and I feel like them with Admiral Ackbar should be enough to take on this team. So we're going to head into the battle here, and I can tell you this was not a great choice, and it mostly comes down to veteran smuggler Han and his ability to counterattack. He has a powerful attack, and when he counters, he does a double tap, so he attacks twice, and he has health steal, so when he's doing that damage, he can heal himself up. So small hits, small weak hits, and a number of them is bad when you're going against veteran smuggler Han. Now, as you're going to see in the battle as it plays out, I do figure this out, and I start to see, oh crap, I'm getting counterattacks, and I'm not doing enough damage to Lando, because none of these three characters can really dish out punishing strikes, other than Chirrut's second special with his call to assist. That one can deal some damage, but other than that, it's just small little hits. And every time I did one hit to veteran smuggler Han, he was able to counterattack and heal himself up. So the first thing I did, which was the right call, is try to get rid of Lando. He can AoE spam and do crits and kind of speed himself up and do some damage. So I get rid of him first, and then I switch to veteran smuggler Han, and quickly I find out that crap, these little hits aren't doing anything to Han. I might be in trouble here. And then I realized that I did bring in Admiral Ackbar as the lead, and his ability, his leadership, allows counter or assist attacks from your rebels when you do a move that's not an attack. And I've got quite a few of those here. Admiral Ackbar has, I think, 2 that count. Chirrut has his heal. So I can do these additional moves to call an assist when I'm trying to do damage to Han, and those assists won't trigger the counterattack from Han. So if I need to use a basic attack, I can just switch my target to Chewbacca, do the basic attack, and then when I have a special ready, or one of my big hits ready, with either Baze's kind of area sweep, or Chirrut's special with his second special call to assist, those can then get targeted at Han, do the big chunks of damage, and take him down. And we can see it does work out. Eventually, using that strategy, we were able to take out veteran smuggler Han, and now it's just Chewbacca, and it's not going to be a problem. So, not an ideal team composition, but strategy to consider when you're up against the veteran smugglers. Either you need to daze Han so he can't counterattack, you need to stun so he can't counterattack, or you need to be able to call assists or stealth or something. The big threat is counterattacks from veteran smuggler Han, and if you're bringing in a low gear team, you might not have the punch to pound through that. So keep that in mind when you see the veteran smugglers. I got through it. I think I had full health on everybody, or close to full health, but no one had full protection. So not a great result, but an okay one. We did end up getting through it with just one team. So the second team that we're going to go up against now is the Jyn-led Rogue One squad. So this is Jyn and Baze and Chirrut. And just like I used Baze and Chirrut, and the problem was I didn't have big damage, that's kind of the situation here. They don't have any big damage to take out my squad. So I thought bringing in Vader would be the ideal choice here, because with his leadership Zeta, which I have, he will eventually just stack up dots and dots and dots. Those dots will never get cleansed. Chirrut can cleanse them temporarily, but they'll pop back up at the end of the turn. So eventually those dots will get so high. Vader's saber throw will be doing enough damage. Wampa's damage can ramp up as well as he goes throughout the fight. And I've got Shoretrooper there to taunt and heal. So eventually I knew I could ramp up my damage high enough to pound through this opponent. And we can see that that works pretty well. This was a good strategy. I came up with a good idea. It went as well as I thought it would when I executed it. So no complaints. You could say maybe I brought in too much here, but my Wampa is gear 8, not a super powerful Wampa. And, you know, Vader is a decent character, but not an end-all, be-all character these days by any means. So I thought it was a fun squad. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. I ended up getting through with 3 full health units and a full protection unit as well. So 52 banners. That was a really nice result, I thought, for that squad. So next, what we're going to do is try to finish off the lower bracket, this lower group, because we want to see what's behind them, right? We want as much information as possible. I'm guessing that my opponent's most powerful defensive squad that's not visible for the 2 back rows would be behind his weaker front row, rather than save his strongest defense in the back behind his strongest defense in the front. So that's what I'm guessing, but I don't know. And like I said, I'm trying to save powerful teams So I want to know what I can learn as quickly as possible. Let's finish this off, expose 2 of the 4 back rows, and that'll kind of help inform my decisions going forward while we take out his stronger front row. So this is an Ewok team, right? And how do Ewoks work? Well, they generate a ton of assists, and they generate a ton of turn meter, and they basically just assist each other, and they rack up these tons and tons of attacks that do tiny damage individually, and they just kind of wear you down over time. So I thought, let's bring in a Retribution squad. So for me, it was Imperial Troopers with Rangetrooper, because he can give Retribution to my squad. So as long as I get that up, I don't care how often the Ewoks attack, because they'll just attack me and get countered for more damage, and we'll eventually be able to wear them down. So we'll see how that goes. We come in, and that's the first thing we do. We get Retribution up, and the main target here has to be Ewok Elder first, because he can heal, he can res, so if you take something else out, Elder's going to be able to bring it back. And because Elder is gear 12, he's going to be pretty tanky, he's going to be able to take some hits. But we're able to whittle his health down here pretty early. We have Retribution up. The one thing to consider here is that Wicket has stealth. He can give another member of the team stealth, and if he had given it to Ewok Elder, I'm trying to think if I would have had trouble, because then they could have done a bunch of attacks before the stealth wore off, and that might be true. There's no dispel on this team. I guess then I would have had to concentrate on Chirpa, but again, when you get that first kill with your troopers, it really powers them up, and they'll be able to do it anyway. So even if I got a kill and got a res, I'd still get the bonuses from the kill, and I think it would have gotten the train rolling. So that, in my head, went well. Brought in the Retribution squad, let them do all the attacks they wanted, used the counterattacks to my advantage to whittle them down, and we, again, got 3 full health units, no full protection, so that's a little disappointing for a trooper team. Usually you're getting kills, you're regenerating protection, and you can expect a little bit cleaner result from your Imperial troopers, but that was a Gear 12 squad, and I brought in Gear 11 troopers, so I'll consider that a win and a good result. So we can see that if we open up the back row on the bottom, there is a Night Sister squad, and it is undergeared. They have a Zeta Mother Talzin, a decent Asajj, but an undergeared zombie. So that's not going to give you the endless revives when enemies get taken out or anything like that. That's a vulnerable zombie. And the top squad is an interesting one. It's a Visas Mar lead. I don't even think she has a leadership. Maybe I'm wrong there. But then Mission and Big Z. And they are a potent combo, especially in 3v3. They can be really, really good. I know that. I don't quite have all the mechanics down for how they work, but they don't have their Zetas. And that's the one thing I know, that if they don't have their Zetas, they're not super dangerous. So this is actually good news. It looks like the back row is not saving some super powerful characters. He wasn't able to put Jedi Knight Revan, at least in this back row. So I'm hoping there's something similar behind the top row, and it looks like my souped up squads, my Han and Luke and Chewie and my Night Sisters, and they could chew through these teams. So far, so good. As long as I can get a full 1-for-1 clear in the front top, it looks like we're going to be in pretty good shape. So the first team that we're going to attack in this top front row is the Bossk Bounty Hunters. And man, do I make a mistake on this one really bad. I don't know how soon you guys are going to notice it, but you will see it pretty soon. So what I decided to do, I thought I wanted to save some of my other teams, and this is kind of my specialist squad. It's got a Zeta Darth Maul with Darth Nihilus and then Enfy's Nest. And the idea is you keep Darth Nihilus under stealth. He's going to evade. Eventually, they're going to attack Enfy's Nest. She's going to counter. She's going to strip buffs. And she'll do all that work while Nihilus hides, charges up Annihilate, and then wipes out whatever you're going against. So this Bossk-led Bounty Hunter team is very resilient, recharges health and protection, but none of that matters if you can use Annihilate on them. However, the mistake that I made, if you haven't noticed it yet, is this squad that I'm against has Dengar. And Dengar, when he gets, I think it's critically hit, he goes under stealth. And when he's under stealth, the opposing team cannot stealth. And that is the fundamental concept to this team, that I want Nihilus and Maul to go under stealth constantly, to evade, go under stealth, force the attacks on Enfy's Nest. So a really, really poor choice in team. I could have done this another way. I could have sent I think my Jedi Training Rey team against the Bounty Hunters, and then I could have used this squad against the Kru-led First Order, and that probably would have been the right way to go about it. But at the end of the day, our team is strong enough to get through this. Enough of the attacks go to Empy's Nest. She's countering. Nihilus does build up through Drain Force, through stripping buffs, eventually is able to keep his health high enough and pull off Annihilate to work through the Bounty Hunters one by one. And we are able to get a successful battle here. But it was not clean. It was not a good choice. Definitely not the right approach for this. So hopefully that's a teaching moment for you guys. Obviously, going against Dengar means don't use stealth, right? I mean, that's kind of a basic principle, but it can be forgotten when you have some of these weird matchups. When you're trying to be clever, you can outsmart yourself. So keep that in mind. Stealth team, anything that relies on stealth in any way, don't send in against a Dengar team, a Bounty Hunter team that's including Dengar. But like I said, it did work out. We lost Darth Maul. He is a bit fragile, squishy, but the Annihilate was able to carry the day, and we were able to defeat this team, losing just one team member. So we have our 2 surviving units, one of them at full health, and 48 banners. So that's not great. If my opponent had kind of a perfect run, putting up a 48 score is not ideal, but for making such a tragic mistake, I'll take the win in any form there to get through. And again, we know our opponent did have a 3 battle, so if we go 1 for 1 all the way through, we're going to be fine. So even that lackluster performance is good enough to keep us on pace. So the next squad we're going against is the Kru-led First Order. And the big thing here is super durable between Kylo Ren Unmasked and between regular Kylo Ren. Tons and tons of tankiness. They can really take the hits. They can regenerate health and protection. And then they've got First Order Executioner. That's kind of a niche farm. That's a character I haven't touched yet. Looks really good for a First Order team, but I just have not been able to prioritize the farm to get that guy going. So kudos to my opponent. This is a really good squad. Fortunately, Jedi Knight Rey is a hard counter to this squad with her healing immunity, unresistible. You can really just pound through these guys, call a ton of assists, do a ton of damage, and so I'm bringing Jedi Training Rey with BB-8, and then I brought C-3PO. Other ways you can do that with other resistance characters, but I thought with all the counterattacks that Kylo Ren does, having C-3PO means he won't get countered. We can use translation, we can use confusion, get Illuminated Destiny going early, and prevent extra counters from Kylo Ren, and all that worked beautifully. This was kind of just like a hot knife through butter, never really any danger here. BB-8 takes some damage, but he gets evasion, he calls assists, so the outcome here was never really in doubt. Not rocket science that Jedi Training Rey is a counter to the First Order squad. And we can see 2 full health units, 2 full protection units, 52 banners, a really nice result for going against an all Gear 12 defensive squad. So the final squad we're up against in the front top territory is Rex Lead with 5s and Wampa. And so the idea here, you want to pair Wampa with Rex so that he can't get stunned. You get that tenacity up, and Rex and Wampa can do some big damage. So the counter in my mind is Grand Admiral Thrawn. If you fracture Wampa, doesn't matter if he has tenacity up, you can really lock him down. And then with Emperor Palpatine, he can put out shocks, he can put out stuns, he can ramp his own health up, and we've got Deathtrooper in here as well. If we get that first kill, then we can do Death Mark and really take something out quickly. Deathtrooper can also stun, so removes that turn meter gain that Rex can generate through his leadership. When you're getting crits on the enemy team, they would gain turn meter. Getting a daze, getting a stun can help lock down this team. And once again, this was pretty straightforward. As long as my Thrawn goes first, and my Thrawn is very fast, he's one of my faster characters, go ahead and fracture Wampa. He's locked down. They don't really have a taunt in this. They can't really do anything to protect Wampa. So, boom, he's out just like that. And now Deathtrooper is up, ready to use Death Mark. And then I think we can go for... would go for Rex here, ideally. I might have gotten a little cute here because 5s is a counter-attacking machine, right? So in my head, I thought, all right, well, if I go for 5s last, if he's the only character left, I'm going to have to attack him a bunch and then get counterattacked a bunch, and it's going to knock down my protection, and I might lose out on a point or two. So the approach I took was to attack 5s first, and if I take him out, then I can use just the battle against Rex to regenerate my protection. I've got Thrawn here, his second special can give 50% protection back. So I thought, get rid of 5s, and then use just Rex left slowly to take him out so I can rebuild my protection. And I don't know, I might have gotten too cute there. They did a little bit of extra damage. I did end up getting the protection off, the protection heal back on there. So was it worth it? Did I save myself a point? Maybe. And you know, the idea was there. The idea was sound. Just in practice, did it pay off? I'm not quite sure. But either way, a very successful battle. 3 full health units, 2 full protection units. That is 53 banners and a great result any way you cut it. So that opens up the back top row. That exposes the final 2 teams, and it is a Darth Maul Zeta lead with Savage, also Zetaed, and Sith Assassin. All gold squad. So that's a super strong defensive team hiding behind his strongest defensive front. An interesting strategy. He went all in on the top and basically was hoping that I would burn enough of my strong teams getting through the rest of the territories that I wouldn't have anything left for that top row in the back. Fortunately, I was conservative, played it safe, saved some of my strongest teams. So I think we'll be able to match these guys up and get through this efficiently. And then the other squad here is a Jedi Training Rey team who is Gear 12 with the 2 Zetas, but R2-D2 and BB-8 are paired with it, and they are not Gear 12. A little bit weaker, especially BB-8 there is under-geared. So not a super intimidating squad. Still a good team, but it does have its weaknesses, and it can be exploited. So now that I've got all 4 teams exposed, I'm going to work from the top down. Now that I've got the complete informational package, I'm going to use my best squad against the best squad that's left and work my way down. So for me, Luke, Han, Chewie, they're the best squad that I've got on offense. We're going to take that against this Zeta Maul, and we should be able to pump out damage very quickly here. We kind of want to target Assassin early if we can. Her ability to feed turn meter to the team to damage through the protection and go straight to the health could potentially be a risk to my team. Again, I don't think it'll be a big deal. And we do have the Savage over there, but we've got enough ways to clear buffs between Commander Luke's first special attack and between Chewbacca's ground pound. We can strip away all those heal over times that a Zeta Savage can put up. So that's the main risk to this team. Is it's super tanky. Savage can generate a ton of heal over time. He's got good defense. He's got good health. So if you don't have a lot of burst damage or a way to peel off those heal over times that he's putting up, you can kind of get stuck. You can just, you know, deal damage to him, and just never get through it, never do any meaningful damage that he doesn't heal on his own turn. Thankfully, this squad has the tools necessary to just blast through it, and we're able to do it with 3 full health, 1 full protection for a 52 banner win. My best squad against his remaining best squad, definitely a good result. So next up is the Jedi Training Rey squad, and her big weakness is Mother Talzin-led Night Sisters. You put Plague on Jedi Knight, I keep saying Jedi Knight Rey, Jedi Training Rey, and it just gets passed around between her and BB-8 and R2-D2, and they will kill themselves eventually from the Plague. So we've got Night Sister Zombie to taunt, Asajj will deal damage and can stun and do all those things, but this is a straightforward fight. This is a hard counter, again, one that everybody is pretty familiar with. Mother Talzin lead against Jedi Training Rey. Every time you're using a special, you're inflicting Plague, and the enemy can spread Plague amongst themselves, so it just ramps up very quickly. One thing to keep an eye on, watch for foresight dodging with BB-8. We want to get stuns out there when we can, so pick your target of opportunity, but it shouldn't really be hard. We can heal, we can strip buffs, and this is just a hard counter match made in heaven, and not a difficult battle for us to get through with our good Night Sister squad. This is a good squad of mine that I like using. I put together for the Sith raid, and I've kind of tuned it a little bit to be useful in other game modes like Grand Arena. So 50 banners, right? 3 surviving units, 2 of them at full health, and that's a really good result against a Jedi training Rey team. So we go to the final territory, the back bottom, and the more powerful squad here is the Night Sister team. It's Mother Talzin led. Plague is the concern, and they do have zombie, but it's not a powered up zombie, so we can just blast through it. So at this point, I've got my triumvirate team, except for Nihilus. I've got Trooper in there instead, and this is a team that heals itself throughout the fight, strips itself of debuffs, so this is not going to be difficult. We can isolate, and we want to put that on Mother Talzin, so she can't use her call to assist to kind of swarm with Asajj and Zombie. We can take Zombie out very quickly, and if we take it out twice and give it the 2 stacks of, I forget what it's called, Undying or whatever, once it's got that second stack, it's locked down, it can't move, it can't revive when I kill another unit because of the gear level. So now that we've got the Zombie locked down, we can switch our targets up. We have Isolate on Mother Talzin. She's not really going to do anything. Get a kill here, keep them locked down. Big hit on Asajj, she goes down. Mother Talzin is down, and then it's just Night Sister Zombie. That was, my squad was Gear 12, Traya and Sion, and a Sith Trooper in there. That was not a difficult battle, and this was the advantage to kind of saving those heavy hitters for the end here. We know we're in good shape. So, the last squad in the way is not impressive on paper. A Visas Mar lead, and then Mission and Zaalbar. So, I'm down to, kind of the dregs of my offense here, right? I don't have a lot of middle-of-the-road characters. They're either really powered up or not at all powered up. So I'm trying to figure out what to do here. And like I said early in the video, I have that Wedge and Biggs combo, and I pulled them out of Admiral Ackbar. And this is why I wanted to save them for this final back row. So we're going to go with a Wedge lead, Biggs in support, and R2-D2 to help give them some extra stats. And this should be more than enough to get through this opponent's squad. Now, I make a little mistake here. I thought my first target should be Mission because she's the damage dealer on the squad, right? And if I can get rid of the damage dealer, then I can just pound through everybody else, and it shouldn't be a big deal. What I should have done is focused Visas first because she has a res. I completely forgot about it. I don't use Visas in my own team. She had her, Minute of Fame early in the Sith raid, but I never had the resources dedicated to her to use her for that, so she's just kind of sat on my bench. So I go for Mission first, which was exactly the trap that I think was supposed to be set. Take out Mission, which gives Zaalbar the taunt, and then Visas goes and he heals back, or reses back Mission. So an interesting little combo there that I was just ignorant of. But thankfully, the team that I brought in here is so powerful, can deal so much damage that it's not going to be a big deal. So I got stuck behind that taunt, but Biggs and Wedge can deal a ton of damage. Having R2-D2 with them just boosts them all up. And yeah, we're able to recover from the bit of the mistake early on and blast through them very quickly. If we had done Visas Mar first, then we could have done Mission, and then we could have taken out Zaalbar, and that would have been the right way to go about it. But 3 surviving units, 2 full health. Again, this was the last battle. Some units that we don't see very often, so we learned something. We took something away from that experience and still came away with the win. 50 banners, and that concludes the run. All 10 battles, 1 for 1. We get the win and take the title in this 3v3 Grand Arena. And again, that's the result that was supposed to happen based on the rosters. If I had screwed that up, if I didn't take first, that would be, major props to my opponent and bad for me because my roster was just better. So we come away with a 32-point win, and that was fun. It was close. A lot of these Grand Arena battles, the opponent doesn't show up or they won't attack me, and I don't blame them because I've got Revan and they don't even have Revan sometimes, and what are they going to do? They know there's no chance, so I get it. And yeah, when it works out like this, when you have to think and plan and you make a mistake but you recover from it, that can be an engaging experience. It can be a lot of fun. So I get Grand Arena, I get the appeal. I'm not quite sold on it yet, and I certainly don't want to see it more often for less rewards. But as it stands right now, it is a fun change of pace. It is a new mode that I'm enjoying, and I can see the upside too. So thank you for joining me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. You learned something. You saw some teams work in a certain way. You learned from the mistakes that I made so you don't make them yourselves. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments what you thought about this video. Do you want to see more Grand Arena? Let me know, and thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.